Hello, First Press. Here we are. This Sunday, we're going to start a series on the minor prophets. The minor prophets they're not minor, they're not lesser, they just wrote shorter. And so all 12 of them are on a single scroll. They all wrote between 750 and 500-ish BCE. They're literary prophets because we have copies of their message, often because the people who they were speaking to were not interested in listening to them. So their messages, they either wrote them down or they were written down to be held for posterity's sake. And they all are speaking to this time of upheaval, of this conquest of nations, and against the backdrop of the politics of Assyria and Babylon and Judah and Israel, there's this desire to talk about God's politics or God's vision for how we do this work. So as we start with Amos, I want to think about this phrase, when preaching comes to meddling. I came across it early in my ministry, and it's usually used as a rebuke of preachers who should just preach the Bible, but don't talk to me about how I live my life, right? Because that would be meddling. And I just want you to be preaching. The modern day equivalent of it for me is when people say, well, you got too political. As if you could preach scripture and not get political, right? Because that's what the minor prophets are doing. They're largely speaking to the political systems of their day and saying they don't line up to God's political system. God has a moral world order that God envisions, and you aren't living it. And Amos is going to get us started on that, and he's going to do it with his little subtle entrapment, right? So he's going to spend the better part of 2 chapters saying, oh, your neighbors, oh man, they're doing everything wrong. We're going to be like, yeah, they are, right? All their enemies, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then there's going to be these pronouncements of a fate, and you're going to be like, I don't know what that is, but they deserve it. Yeah. And just when we're all egged up, then Amos says, Israel and Judah, you too. Oh, Amos, you just went from preaching to meddling. Let's get meddled with this Sunday.